Yeah, what's up? What are you saying? Base Boxing Basement. Subscribe, like, and donate. Right, so there's lots to talk about in boxing as always. It's all gossip now, isn't it, these days? Chat. But we're talking about a rematch here between Johnny Fisher and Dave Allen. Now, we all remember the first fight. I did well out of that because I put Fisher on points. 7-1 I got because Allen's chin is superb. Most people have it as a robbery. Most people say Dave Allen deserved the decision. I've got no problem with that. But, like I said, you've when you're betting, you've got to factor in, the fact there could be bent judges. You've got to think that they're going to go, and the ref, you think that they're going to lean towards the promoter's big name and fighter. I mean, we just saw a couple of terrible robberies recently. Hamza Shiraz getting a draw against Carlos Adames when I don't think he won a round at the best. Maybe 1 round and a draw. Then Javon Gay Davis, getting a draw against Lamont Roach, who clearly beat him and dropped him. So you got to factor that in. They would always lean towards the big names. I mean, it gives you like a 3 or 4 round advantage from the beginning on points. But it's a good honest fight. A lot of people are dumping on Johnny Fisher. I don't think it's fair. I don't understand it. Johnny Fisher had 4 or 5 amateur fights. He was a rugby player. He got into it late. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, obviously, Johnny Fisher's been pushed. Why? He sells so many tickets and he's very popular. He's got his father as well. They're a nice family. I like the way they stick together. Excuse me, his father, Big John Fisher, obviously is obese and needs to lose weight. I mean, it's crazy to me how a guy of that, age, what is he? He must be 50, right? Lets himself get so fat, and he must be having the best time of his life. He's got his own social media presence. He's earning money from it, and his son is a big heavyweight prospect. The excitement, the glamour of big time pro boxing, but he's still risking his own health and his career. And Johnny Fisher's going, oh, you can call my father fat, but I love him. He's a great dad, and he's doing well. Yeah, mate, but you should be you're the one, Fisher, Johnny Fisher, and your brothers and sisters or whatever, and your mum should be telling him, you need to lose weight. You are a fat, disgusting, obese pig. You got to be straight sometimes because you're risking a heart attack. Of course you love your dad. But you show that love by getting and say, look, you fat, disgusting pig. Lose some weight because you're going to die of a heart attack within 5 years. I'm not saying this. I'm saying this seriously. Okay? Yeah, the eating Chinese thing, that's all very fun, but it's not worth dying age 55, is it? You know what I'm saying? So Johnny, if he wants to be a good son, should be talking to Big John and say, listen, you pig, you're a big, disgraceful, obese pig. You need to lose some weight, bruv. It's for your own health. I'm looking after. I've done a video 2 years ago about it, and then Big John Fisher started going, yeah, I'm on a diet now. He didn't lose any weight. In fact, he's put some on. No Chinese food is worth dying so young. Anyway, but as a family and as a unit, and the fact they brought so many, new fans to the sport, and they're so popular, then I totally back them, but just lose some weight, blood. Maybe he needs one of them gastric bands. I don't really agree with that, but, extreme weight needs extreme measures. Anyway, on to Johnny Fisher. So Johnny Fisher, as I said, people give him a hard time. You see it on the forums. Oh, Johnny Fisher's no good. Listen, he's had 4 amateur fights or something. He was a rugby player till he was 21. Okay? He's had 13 pro fights. All wins. Okay, Allen was a bit dodgy. But all wins and 11 KOs. He can bang. But he's a novice. He's a novice. And he hasn't done bad for a novice. He'll bang people out. He's got power. I do think, I mean, when he went 10 with Allen, I don't know what the rematch is for. The rematch is happening in May. I don't know, probably a 10-rounder, I imagine. But that was the first time he'd been that far, right? He'd only been as far as 7 rounds before against Harry Armstrong. He banged so many people out in the first round or two, you know? It's all the early rounds. It's not surprising that he struggled a bit with Allen. Allen is a very tough fighter and a very experienced fighter. You know, he's fought world-class opponents. He might not have beaten any, but he's fought world-class opponents. Yeah. Lucas Brown, he knocked out. Now, you might say, well, Lucas Brown was basically won the heavyweight championship. You know, although he allegedly failed a test. He was stopped in 3 rounds by Allen. Okay. He also fought Yoka, David Price, you know, Luis Ortiz, Dillian White. These are all world-class fighters, right? And Allen, so what's Allen had? He's had 32 pro fights, and he's extremely tough. So, what's going to happen in the fight? Well, first, as I said, first he boosts his layoff Johnny Fisher, but it gives him a chance to develop, you know? It was a dangerous fight to take. And people go, we always knew Johnny Fisher was rubbish. Give him a chance, man. Johnny Fisher would bang out a lot of people. I'm not saying he's world-class. I'm not saying he win a world championship, but, you know, you got to give him the time. And you got to remember in the first fight, yeah, he was dominating the early rounds. Then he got caught and went over. And people are going, oh, he's chinny. Well, I don't think so. He's got a big head, which usually means you can take a punch. He sparred loads of top guys who also said he had a great chin. But now you got to remember, he got caught in the ear, right in the ear, by Allen early on. And what that does is that discombobulates you. It ruins your balance. It makes it, you know, your ears are very important for your balance. And his ear was all busted up and had to be drained. So getting caught in the ear can just mess up your balance. And I think the knockdown was partially due to that. Partially got caught with a good shot. Partially maybe he was gassing. Maybe he thought he would have a easier fight. Because apart from, who was there? There's one guy gave him Gabriel Nguema. He went on points with Gabriel, who was quite an experienced guy. That was only a 6-rounder, but that was the only guy who gave him, you know, he didn't walk through it at some point, you know. As for Alan the Bum Babbage, I mean, I hope everyone took my tip for Babbage to get bummed out in the first round. He lost in 36 seconds. I mean, that was just free money as far as I'm concerned. Because Johnny Fisher's violent and can hit, and he comes out hard. My main worry about Johnny, and it's not his chin, it's his. I'm pretty sure his chin is decent. I just think that, as I said, there was the ear balance issue, and he hasn't had that many fights. Maybe he could have trained harder. It was maybe it was leading up to Christmas. I don't know. Johnny always looks in great shape, to be honest. But what worries me the most about Johnny Fisher is his lack of accuracy. Okay, you see, like you see them real good fighters. And they from strange angles, from strange position, they will land perfect shots. Fisher just uses brute strength and violence to bang people out. Quite often he's not hitting the target perfectly. You got to aim for the chin if you want to spark someone out properly. I mean, you can knock them out in other places, obviously the body, the temple, but bang on the chin is where you want it. I think he might need to pace himself and use his nut a bit more, Johnny. He's been so used to banging people out, and then he met, well, not an immovable object, but he met a solid Dave Allen. So, what happened in the rematch? Well, you'll forget fights like this, right? When the prospect looks to have been exposed and looks to have lost. Obviously, he didn't, on paper, lose, Fisher. But most people would have Allen winning. And then when there's the rematch, the prospect, the young prospect, steps up a notch and beats the wily old dog. We've had that a lot. There are a few times when it doesn't happen, like David Price vs. Thompson, but Thompson was doing PEDs. Yeah. In fact, David Price has been beaten like 5 times by guys who've failed PED tests. But that's another story. As for Alan, you know, when he weighed in, he always likes to be a joker at the weigh-in. You know, when he put a huge sock or a pillow down his wide front so it looked like he had a massive Corey. And Tyson Fury was like, I can't wait. I got to go up and inspect that Cardi. Look at that Cardi. I've never seen anything like it. I've got to inspect that Cardi. And you know, it's like, oh, hold on, Tyson, hold on. This is not his real Corey. Oh, okay. Anyway, I wish I had a Corey like that anyway. Yes, all right, Tyson. Now, so what he did for this fight, he sat there and he stuck his stomach out to make it look really fat. And so when I looked on social media, the face-off, people were like, oh, Dave Allen's a fat pig. He's going to get bummed out. But actually, if you look at him on the scales, his shoulders looked solid. He was in shape. Allen's one of those fighters that doesn't always train that hard. And he'll regret it. He'll be watching boxing in 5-10 years' time. I could have beaten that guy. I could have done this. I could have done that. But instead, I decided to drink too much, not train hard enough, and eat too much food. But hey, I've got my own house now, so at least I got that. But I do think David Allen may end up one of those guys that wasted his talent. I'm not saying he would be world champion. No, I'm not. But he's mixed in world championship class, or at least guys who have a world rating. As I said, Dillian White, people like that. Lucas Brown, maybe you could say he was shot, whatever. Luis Ortiz, Yoka, people like that. So, certainly borderline world class. So the question is this: it's quite a risky rematch for Johnny Fisher's team to take, given that he got busted up quite a lot by Allen, put over, bust up ear. You see him the next day, they're all chummy and all that. And Fisher's sitting there holding his jaw because it's still hurting him. But it's probably done him a lot of good. He needed a fight like that because he's never had a tough fight before, has he? He bummed out, to my understanding, all the amateur opponents. He's bummed out everyone except Gabriel Anguema, who gave him a little bit of trouble. But it was only a 6-rounder. So we'll have learned a lot, hopefully to pace himself, hopefully to be more accurate. Yeah, to use his brain a bit. And then there's the other side. Well, Dave Allen's been, lazy sometimes. He hasn't trained properly. Will he train for this? Most people go, oh, of course he'll train for this because this will launch him onto a big payday. Yeah, but boxing don't work like that, man. Boxing don't work like that. Logic doesn't always apply. David Allen's also been involved in some very dodgy betting scenario with Dorian Darch. Yeah. When bookies refused to pay out on a Dave Allen KO in the 4th round because so much money had been dumped on that round. And it also seemed, when he beat Dutch, it also seemed like he was carrying him for a few rounds. Sorry, it was round number 3 he bombed him out, excuse me. So, so there was unusual betting patterns. I had a lot of money coming in on the 3rd round before the fight, I assume. And it seemed the first couple of rounds, Dorian Dutch is, he's got 12 fights, 1 win by KO. Sorry, 12 wins, 1 win by KO, 12 losses, 10 by KO. So he's very chinny. And it seemed like he was being carried. He was being carried by Dave Allen. And they didn't pay out on that, by the way, the bookies. So, it's a bit dodgy. So you think, well, if is Allen involved in this kind of stuff? Well, he definitely seems to be carrying Dodge. Okay? And so you can imagine them sitting down. This is, see, people think it's not like the movies. Oh, go down and, maybe the Dodge fight. But on the whole, in the movies, it's not like you better go down in this round or this is how you're going to lose and blah, blah, blah. There's other ways to fix fights. There are other ways to fix fights. And, basically they'll say, look, listen, man. Look, Dave, we'll give you a rematch against Johnny Fisher and we'll pay you, I don't know, I'm guessing, right? 200 grand. 200 grand for this fight. Or you go back to being a journeyman and earn 5 grand to fight bums. His last fights before Johnny Fisher was Amin Busetta, who he beat in 4 rounds on points. Another 4-rounder, Jake Darnell on points, who had 2 wins and 25 losses. So it's like, what, you could go back to fighting them fights, yeah? Or you can get a good payday in 200 grand, but you know what you got to do. You know what you got to do. They won't say you know, you're not allowed to win, but they will say, they'll make it known. They'll make it known. You're not meant to win this fight. If you want the payday, you got to do what's right. And I think this will be a case. I think partially Johnny Fisher, because Alan's time in boxing, he's only 32, the White Rhino, which is his nickname, the White Rhino, but he's had a lot of hard fights. Like I said, right? Look at all the fights prior to him fighting Fisher, right? There were, since he got stopped by Price, he fought Dorian Darch, who's a bum. You know, he would have got a couple of grand for that. Andrea Pesky, 7 wins, 13 losses. Again, a couple of grand. A guy called Milen Paunov, 5 wins, 8 losses. Bums. Michael Bassett, 2 wins, 8 losses. Then they put him against Fraser Clark. He got beaten up. But he hadn't really trained for that. And you know, Clark could have been disqualified for low blows. And then he's back to fighting bums. Jake Jarnell, 2-25. Amin Busetta, 8-14. You know, fighting in little leisure centres for a few grand. So it's like, well, okay. You either go back to that, Dave. You can either go back to fighting them bums, or you get 200 grand to fight Johnny. But you know what you got to do, bro? This is life-changing money. So I'm very suspicious of that. I also think that, and the fact that Fisher was going to train very hard for this and use his brain and realize that he quite possibly took Alan lightly. You know, he would have learned a lot from a hard, proper fight. This was his first hard fight. And now he knows he can come through it. So I think Fisher will win it. Will he win on stoppage or points? It just depends what shape. We'll wait and see the weigh-in. If Alan has actually trained, then he can go to distance. But if he hasn't, then maybe we'll see a Fraser Clark type stoppage, you know. He'll get stopped in the later rounds. He maybe retire. You know, like I said, he's got a great chin, but he has been stopped a few times. Luis Ortiz in 7, Yoka in 10, David Price in 10, Fraser Clark in 6. So I see a scenario of Johnny Fisher winning. As I say, depending on the depending on the weigh-in, we'll see what shape he's in. If he's in half decent shape, he might go to distance. If he's in bad shape, he's getting stopped in the mid to late rounds. And people should give Fisher a chance. I'm sick of people pissing on Fisher. Just, you know, of course he's been hyped and overhyped, but so he should with all those tickets he sells, with all the social media presence. But people got to remember, this is a guy, right, who's only had 18 fights, amateur and pro. Most of the people, he's just driven through. So give the man a chance. I'm not saying he's going to be a world champion, but give him a chance, man. Give him a chance to develop. Yeah? And look, he's good for boxing, Johnny Fisher. Yeah? He's good for boxing because he brings a new crowd. All right? Peace in the Middle East.